Welcome, everybody. We haven't done a live stream on YouTube in a while, have we?
Right. Yep.
Yeah, a lot of people ask why I don't put content out anymore, and we actually do. We just do most of it on ascensionworks.tv now. It's a just a good way to have all of my information in one place. It's a free membership, so anyone can join to follow it. Um, Everything just gets stolen or censored here on YouTube, so we're doing less on YouTube, obviously. How are you doing today, Mike?
I'm all right. Yep. It's a very interesting, strange season where people try to creep out our children with Halloween season, but overall it's been pretty good for us. And I know it's been a lot of ups and downs with what we've gone through, but it feels like we're finding a solid up ramp now. And the documentary really has gone through a lot of what I would call negative greetings to try to get to this point, but I think it's any day now, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm very happy. We've discussed the hardships. The last 5, 6 years, we'd have a project greenlit. We had something going with Discovery Channel or Travel Channel, and then the merger happened, killed the deal. I mean, it was thing after thing. And then one of the big kicks was when Chicken Soup for the Soul stopped paying us out for our documentary. And after that, things just kind of went into a tailspin. Most people don't realize we were nearly homeless 2 or 3 times. It was so bad. Um, and finally, we had to, declare bankruptcy to get everything reorganized. And that we're going through that right now at the same time as we're seeing all these projects popping up. But of course, the projects, they don't pay right away. They have to go through the distribution and payout process. So like you said, that documentary we expected to be done 6 months ago, but there was a lot more that went into it. They animated some of our graphic novel for parts. They um, created uh, special effects, and we did um, reenactments with my family. So this is pretty high quality, and it's much, much more complicated than anything we've done in the past. But yeah, the documentary has been going through Apple QC, and once it goes through Apple quality control checks and passes that, it can be distributed pretty much anywhere. And so I believe it's coming out on Apple TV. It's coming out on Amazon and iTunes in the beginning, maybe one or two other places. Um, Tomorrow, I get an update on whether it's past QC, and then we're hoping to get it launched before um, Halloween. So fingers crossed on that. But that has been quite the process. And Polyscope Productions, they're great guys. Um, they've they're new to all of the paranormal type of stuff. So this has been quite a process for them, which is actually part of the documentary. They're meeting me and then seeing what's happened to me and my kind of life story was pretty interesting to them. So they wanted to do a documentary. And that turned out so well that here in a couple of weeks, we start production of what's going to turn out to be a 4 episode series, television series called Contacted. And we're going to shoot that. It's supposed to be completed by the end of the year, and it should be out of post-production, in the spring. And then it goes through the distribution channel. So we have some awesome things. The support I've been getting from everyone that we've been getting for our web novel.
Kickstarter.
Yeah, our web novel Kickstarter campaign. I've been so happy. We're like 11 days in or something like that, and I believe we're at 72 or 73% of the 8,000 that we're raising. People are pre-ordering books. If you'd like to go, please go to Kickstarter and just look up the name 20 and Back Project Moonshadow. We're going to have a printed edition that has color manga art, but done by a real artist, not the AI that we've been kind of using for concepts. And we have the writer is Andrew McCaslin. He's doing a great job. I've seen the first 14 chapters. With the money we get from the Kickstarter campaign, we also want to have it professionally edited to make sure it's perfect for release. And at the same time, I have Colin Palmer. He's a former Navy SEAL. He's working in the Middle East. He's working, does military type security, but he's writing a script for us for a feature film based on this novel. So it's really moving along. We have some very high up there professional people that we're working with. Um, we just had a pitch meeting with a production company in New York that is known for doing paranormal um, content. I was actually introduced to them by my friend Jenny McCarthy while she was pitching a show several years ago. And I was very happy. They were excited to hear from me. We discussed our haunted renovation television series that we want to do for one of the big channels. And they loved the idea. And we're working on a production deal. And then we're going to start developing the project and hopefully start shooting it at the end of 2026. So, lots of exciting things. Like you said, things are taking off. But at the same time, we've been going through this total financial collapse. And it has been quite the ride. So, we're pulling ourselves out of the crazy financial situation we found ourselves in, and we within a short period of time we should be not just off and running, but it's like we're taking off from the launch pad.
Yeah. And I just added for people watching on YouTube, I just added the Kickstarter link in the description. So you might have to refresh the video to get the description Kickstarter link. And the other thing we have to mention is the Disclosure Summit coming up in 2 weeks. And we got a great lineup of speakers. It should be really awesome. Um, if you haven't signed up yet and you can't afford it, I would recommend emailing info@thedisclosuresummit.com, ask for a coupon code, or get in touch if you're interested. There's another thing you could do still. We still may have some opportunity for volunteers. If you go to thedisclosuresummit.com, you click on collaborate, and there's a volunteer application form. If you're interested in helping us with the event in some way, but you can't afford to come, that's one way of getting to the event um, as a volunteer.
Yeah, we know right now is travel time coming up for the holidays, so it's kind of tight for a lot of people. So yeah, email us. And also at the event, we're going to do a free showing of the Beyond Disclosure documentary, so everyone's going to get to see it. And Polyscope is going to have their production team there, and they're going to be speaking with people from the community, and they want to hear your stories of contact. So you can be on our upcoming television series if you come to the conference. So we would love to see you there for many reasons, but you know, getting in front of a established production company, getting your work out there, your experiences out there, this could be a really good opportunity.
Yep. And this is November 7th through the 9th. The 7th is just going to be informal gathering, no speakers that day, just chatting in the lobby. Or it's a nice big room they have for us to hang out in. And then besides that is the actual conference venue where we have the speakers, and that'll be mainly all day Saturday, all day Sunday. So if you're local in Colorado, especially good reason to come check it out. Um,
Yeah, I've also, you know, with all of the dangers of AI, we've been having a good time using it for development. I've been working on, I don't know if people know what vertical micro dramas are. They're becoming very popular, and it works really well with our shows and IP. It's when on a phone, it's this vertical format, and it's 1 minute to 3 or 4 minutes, each episode, and it'll be a whole series. And I was playing today with Connor, took some photos of me holding a BB gun, and we put it into Grok and asked it to, give me the background of being an inner Earth, firing a futuristic weapon, and it did a really cool job. So I think these uh, things are going to be cheaper and cheaper to make. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunities coming. Um, so I think a lot of people have a lot of questions right now. We could probably jump right into them. And I should clarify for people who are on YouTube that just for the benefit of our subscribers, we have this as a Q&A available to the live stream subscribers who are accessing through essentialworks.tv, but not through YouTube. So if you want to ask questions live, come on to essentialworks.tv and join from there. And are you ready, Corey?
Yep, let's do it.
All right. So overwhelmingly, the most questions coming in are about Three Eye Atlas. Some people probably haven't even seen your last update, so we could recommend people watch the last full update we put on YouTube. Um, but do you have any other updates? Anything you've heard about it?
No, I haven't. There's so much going around about them, um, about it. Um, the information I was told, and I don't know this to be true, but this is what I heard from contacts in the Alliance. They told me that they're pretty sure it's not a ship. Um, they believe it, their equipment, they're picking up positrons and weird things coming off of it, which indicate to them somehow that it could be antimatter and that it's interacting with the plasma from our sun, the ejecta from our sun. And that's why it's kind of reacting and repulsing, and it looks like it's changing directions, what it is. And it's because of the interaction of the dust, antimatter, dust coma coming off of the object, interacting with the actual plasma from our solar system, matter and antimatter reacting. I don't know. Sounds weird. You'd think it would be lighting up like a Roman candle, uh, exploding. They said that they would rather have people thinking it was a spaceship than antimatter because when it reaches the closest part, or gets as it reaches the closest part of the sun, they're worried that it will explode, sending antimatter everywhere. Um, I don't know. That's what I was told, and I haven't heard anything different since. So, um, but these are the same people that gave me the briefing when Oumuamua went through and showed me the video of that shuttle that they had matching the tumble of Oumuamua and then docking with it. And it was a mostly stone, very damaged craft that they had built inside of it. It was ancient craft, supposedly. So uh, I watched that video, but in this case, I wasn't given any type of visual briefing whatsoever. It was just told by a couple people over the phone.
So do you think there's anything about the timing of this? Does this seem suspiciously timed after Oumuamua so shortly?
I mean, yes, all of the clockwork that seems to be going on with everything happening on Earth and our solar system, it just seems like it just seems like the clockwork to me. I don't know how to explain it, but yeah, the um, timing is suspicious. It is interesting and curious. The way it's behaving is as well. If I received information that it was some sort of a spaceship like last time, I'd be open to it. I just haven't received the information, other than they were worried that it was antimatter. So,
All right. I can move on and ask you if you saw any of the updates about the Booga spheres. Did you have any opinions on that? Apparently, they dated it to 12,500 years, and they said they became activated. They increased in weight, and this was what they were calling the activation, I guess. And yeah, Stephen Greer released a report saying he hypothesizes that these magnetic field anomalies could be related to some early warning technology of a future geophysical event, because the apparently the language that was on it they thought was Proto-Sanskrit, translating to what might be a warning about some cosmic radiation or astronomical event that could affect Earth's geophysical stability.
Yes, the solar event that everyone that I brought up in 2016 and it went viral and then everybody poo-pooed it since and everyone's guide said, "Oh, it's too scary. It's not going to happen." And that's what it is. That's what's going to happen. And um yeah, it's just kind of being rebranded and coming out again, I believe.
Did you have any other information on these things,
Um
Bogus?
I have spoken to Alliance people and asked about it. They're trying to get their hands on it. A lot of them, they want it. Um, I have a friend of mine, who you know, David Kalbeitzer, who traveled down to see it. He held it in his hands and looked at it. And, he and I have had some discussions about it. And there's something very weird and anomalous about it. We discussed that, the symbols that back in ancient times, they would put on craft, I get, or items that flew around, the symbols would often be like almost like an incantation that told the item what it was supposed to do. Like you will fly around freely and gather this type of information. It was a mixture of technology and some consciousness type spell stuff. It's stuff that NASA has been trying to recreate for decades. They put all of these weird symbols on their craft, strange names. They do weird ceremonies, like more than people know, really weird ceremonies, all as a part of their missions, their normal missions. So there, there's some sort of overlap with the consciousness magic, ancient symbols that they have that give matter meaning. We've discussed that, and the timing of that is very suspicious of the carbon dating because it's that's right when the last solar event occurred, and the solar event occurred and it went dormant, and now it's back out again because the frequency of the sun has changed to a point where it may have activated it to where it's that time again. So I think a lot of the powers that be, they're talking about impending events and all of that. It's the solar event. That's what it is. And you know, we don't like it, it's scary or whatever, but that's what everyone is waiting to happen.
All right, we can move on to some other subjects. Uh, One question came in, very broad, vague question. I was wondering if there's anything we can do to set us on the path of a more optimal timeline for the benefit of the planet.
Um, I think really humanity as a whole has chosen the timeline. We're just kind of there for the ride now. So I think the best thing we can really do is make sure our karma is clear and we're doing the inner work and we're ready to ride the ride.
All right. Um, we have somebody who wrote in something I hear very commonly from my friends at my ET discussion meetings. They said, I've been having dreams about an alien in my bedroom. One time I saw myself in a medical table. I couldn't move. I saw the alien around watching me, but I couldn't remember clearly. My question is, how can I remember it? Is it just a dream, or does this mean I've been abducted?
You know, if it depends on what type of alien, what you're seeing, of course, but the chances are that you're having interaction with this non-human intelligence. Um, I, with everything I've learned, the abductions, it's something different than what we've always thought it is. And these beings aren't, creatures that come here from another planet. They're kind of manifesting here from another realm. And uh, they're doing all sorts of nefarious things. They're harvesting souls, using this planet as a farm, feeding off of our emotions and fear. It's and they're also um, playing around with our genetics to create hybrid type of avatars, I guess, for for the entities to come here and inhabit. When they are here in their gray alien form, they're usually created here, do their job, and then they're gone. They're just disappear. They're not existent anymore until they're needed again and then they're created again. Um, Kind of printed or spawned into our reality. If they stay in our reality, that's when you hear the stories of them consuming human or cow blood products, and that's how they kind of stay manifested. But they want to leave their realm and exist in ours. And to do that, they are creating bodies that will be adequate for their consciousness in our reality for long term. That's the discussions I've had most recently with people in the Alliance since uh, I came to a lot of realizations about the non-human intelligences that I had been dealing with and that had been targeting my family.
And I want to remind people you can continue to ask questions in the chat and in the Q&A tab at the bottom. Um, I could ask now, somebody is asking about the video with the Hellfire drone that shot at a UFO. Did you have any thoughts on that situation, what that was?
I'm kind of split because I have seen videos of target balloons that they have that they place over the ocean that they shoot at. Um, but I don't know. The video seemed very anomalous to me. So I'm speculating like everyone else. I'm not speaking to the Alliance as regularly as I used to. A lot of the trust kind of dropped off with me and them, mainly because of things they had done in the past. But they're not giving me uh, like full briefings anymore. I have they wanted me to disseminate a lot of information like I used to, but I caught them so many times in retrospect after the fact, putting information out there for different operational agendas than just putting true information out. So if I couldn't trust them to, you know, be straight with me all the time, then I didn't want to deliver the information. And, we had a pretty big falling out for a while.
Another part of this question was about the cubes. I assume this refers to what former Navy pilot Ryan Graves said about the fact that they had regular encounters that uh, their flight teams had regular encounters with a black box UFO that was like a black cube that they were seeing every day. Have you ever seen anything like that?
Yeah, they're clear bubbles with a black cube inside of it, all of the corners touching the inside of the bubble. Those have been reported for a long time. And yeah, they're, I think, the size of small beach balls or uh, bigger than like basketballs, and they've been seen just flying and sometimes flying in formation around jets and craft going back for some time.
You don't know what they are?
No,
Yeah, pretty mysterious world we're in.
it's a very crazy reality. It's far crazier. Man, the conversations I've been having with these guys recently have been just nuts. You know, them talking about people experiencing the ancient gods that the uh, Egyptians were experiencing, you know, Horus, Hathor, you know, Ra, and they're appearing and manifesting very much the way they did back then, apparently. Um, and, you know, they're appearing to various people. There are a lot of people that are having these experiences, like I've said, similar to Chris Bledsoe and the one that I had with the Blue Avians and others. There are a lot of people that are having experiences with all of these different ancient god type entities that are not public, that have agreed to sign non-disclosures and have agreed to work with the government to study and understand these things. And apparently, these things don't all get along or like each other. They're kind of fighting over space and resources and that type of thing. So that's that's just weird, crazy stuff, you know. You know, when we read about ancient Egypt and we see the paintings on the walls of Hathor and Horus and the other beings, you know, we don't really think that there's something that was really manifesting that way, you know. Uh, it's, it's pretty crazy, but uh, you know, they have absolutely found anomalous advanced technology in different locations in the Sahara that are sand now, but at one time it was very lush areas. They found, they found very interesting things. So, um, you know, I I hope that one day they start telling us the full story. I know that right now what we're seeing play out is the drip drip disclosure that I talked about like 5 or 6 years ago. That's all happening exactly the way they told me and the way I told you back then, including, you know, the new Age of Disclosure documentary. I haven't seen it, but supposedly it's going to be pushing for amnesty for all of I gotta stop this buzzing.
I think that documentary is coming out like
Sorry.
November 21st, I think. Yep. Go ahead.
Sorry, what was I saying?
Age of Disclosure seems to be controlled drip drip
Hmm.
disclosure.
Yeah, it's controlled drip disclosure. There's a big battle over the narrative. Uh, we see a huge penetration into the disclosure movement by people that worked for CIFA, um, you know, that worked for, you know, foreign intelligence, counterintelligence for foreign agencies, that they spent time destroying people like us, our reputations. They would coordinate trolls and point them in one direction, which the trolls are all just too happy to do anyway, and other things to, you know, leak information, do things to discredit and destroy people that are experiencers and abductees. And these same people, allegedly Lou Elizondo and Richard Doty and others, are now out as if they're the faces and voices of disclosure. It's, it's just very strange. And what I've heard about a lot of the podcasters out there, you know, it's all just a giant operation. It's a drip drip disclosure operation, you know. So um, it's leading up to an event. I'm still told that these beings have told the government that it's going to show itself at some point. So they had better start preparing the people so it's not such a big shock. And what's going to show up isn't going to be necessarily giant ships. It could be giant balls of plasma that are conscious beings that are coming here from other realms. It's, not necessarily going to be a giant ship that comes from, Zeta Reticuli or something like that.
So that was a little tantalizing. You said you're getting briefings on a lot of really weird stuff, and you start talking about the Egyptian gods. And I guess it's be nice to know. Do you think these are physical beings that are visiting people, or these non-physical?
No, they are like non-physical, maybe thought form type beings that exist in like almost like an electrical charge that inhabits different types of geology in different regions across the planet. And they seem to be kind of spread out as if they don't get along and they kind of spread out to form their own territories and they don't interact with each other apparently that much. But it's a conscious entity that has interacted with us and influenced us for thousands of years. They appear to us in different ways. And one of the big ways they were manifesting to us in the past was as these uh, Egyptian gods. And I guess the Greeks did the same, and so on and so forth, going back to where apparently a long time ago they would appear to us as spirits of the forest or so whatever these entities are, they're appearing to us differently throughout time, and depending on what our belief systems are, um, they will manifest in something that's not threatening to us and something that we will accept and interact with more likely.
So these are non-physical beings. Do you think there's any indication they have a particular kind of agenda? Are they mixed in their orientation?
They seem to be mixed in their polarity. Uh, some of them have a bit more beneficial uh, outlook, if we could call it that, of humanity, while others have a very terrible one. We're just cattle, they could, and, you know, they could care less about us, while others see us as assets they can use. And if they guide us in the right way, we can be useful to them in certain ways as we evolve. So we have that going on, and then we have completely different entities that are coming here from other dimensions, as well as just a very few that travel here from other planets. They say that the visitations from other planets are actually quite rare, but it happens. But most of what we're dealing with are strange manifestations of whatever these uh, things are. So yeah, it's been really interesting the way the Alliance has pivoted, the way they speak with me now. Before, they were constantly almost interviewing me. They wanted to know all about my experiences, everything about it, every nuance. And so they were getting information. Oh, hi. Hi, here's my bird. Um, so they were using me to get information about this. You can take him or just in a few minutes. They were like with Chris Bledsoe and the others that are experiencing different version of whatever this is. They were wanting to know as much as I could because it won't interact with them at all. It ignores them. Um, they've been able to interact with the really negative ones um, because of the rituals they do. And in South America, parts of Europe, There are some very negative ones that have encouraged blood rituals and uh, um, sacrifices and all sorts of things, and it's really dark. They can interact more with the dark, evil type of beings, but the ones that they see as more positive, just ignore them. So they're learning about them through various people and families that they've been working with.
I wonder if this is why some of these occult books have these long lists of names of angels or entities that you can reach out to.
Yeah, I was talking with some of them, and during these times, we take for granted a lot of the mystery school teachings that were only available to the most elite, not even, 100 years ago. It Under that, before the internet really took off, some of these mystery teachings were never seen by the general public. And we're being flooded with it. It's kind of invading all of our other belief systems. Like the different books like the Quran and the Bible and the Old Testament with the Jews and all of most of these texts, if you really look at them, they're about your relationship with the Creator, whoever you think it is. So it doesn't focus on the dark fallen entities, whatever your belief system says. It tells you about them and warns you about them, but it doesn't give you too many details about these beings, because these beings use also, just like the positive, they use mystery to kind of draw you in. And the more you wonder about them, they will do little tricks for you, make you feel special and draw you in. So I got off track of what I was saying.
I got off track watching, reading some of these questions that are coming in. I think we can probably move on for now. Um,
Okay.
but yeah, keep on asking questions, guys, about some of this new stuff he's talking about. So I have a question that came in. Um, well, I guess there's some questions about timelines that are coming in that are interesting here. There's a question about how time branches. Is it more like the Marvel universe where there's these independent timelines simultaneously happening, or like Back to the Future where there's one timeline that gets modified?
It's like a cord of braided timelines that are going in a general direction. And depending on events in your reality, you all of these braided timelines running, you could bounce around between them. And uh but you're on one of the timelines that's braiding through the others. And you know, it's yeah, there's everything that can happen happens, and it's happening at the same time in different timelines.
So do you think that the 20 and back program relates to being on a different timeline of some kind?
Well, it's more complicated than that. It's not timelines. It's more like time bubbles. You know how I've described time as a local event on Earth and in our solar system. The sun is twisting space and causing our flow of time. Our Earth, our planet, is doing the same to a degree. But if you take a person off of the Earth in a ship that has its own gravitational field timeline or time bubble, you can do all sorts of things out in the universe as time's flowing on the Earth and come back to your time bubble and not and everything you did still happened because it's happening in a different local time bubble. So it's not all one giant, uh, necessarily one giant mechanism. Time is a local event, and around each star it has its own flow of time, and broken up in that flow of time are these different timelines, like different cracks of timelines around that star as it's spinning. So it's creating time as space is sucked towards matter, like the sun, it, it folds in and it keeps going inside the star to a certain degree, and time flows into the kind of like the cosmic web. So the cosmic web kind of becomes the Akashic records and memory of the universe.
All right, we could move on to a few more here. Um, when's the last time you heard anything or communicated with Kari?
Been a while. I pretty much blocked all communications with everything after we had a lot of weird stuff happening in the house, and it was too much for the family, and we pretty much put a wall around, and I'm not interacting with the any aspects of the phenomenon really right now, other than, my family, we all have abilities, and we sometimes have interactions or incidents of things trying to get in the house, seeing things outside when we're out and about, having experiences, but they're more of the kind of mundane paranormal kind of things compared to what we used to experience. We've we have a lot of inner peace, and our family is thriving and doing well after putting up boundaries and not wanting to interact with whatever this is.
All right. We have a question that's interestingly wording to putting together the drip disclosure idea with your cosmic disclosure testimony. Do you think that there was anything that you were reporting on cosmic disclosure that was a part of a drip disclosure strategy?
I was just reporting that there was one, and I was disclosing the stuff I was disclosing was not drip drip. Um, of course, I had to change a lot of details to get it out there and not suffer extreme ramifications, although we did anyway. But all the information you're hearing now sounds very similar. Of course, I had to change little details here and there, but holy crap, does it not sound like what I presented on Cosmic Disclosure and our two documentaries?
Right.
More and more is going to come out, and um, you know, people are gonna people are gonna remember where they first heard it.
So there's a question here about the ETs giving governments a deadline like 2027, 2028. Is that something that you heard?
Yeah, I've heard that, but they don't believe they're ETs. Um, Other dimensional beings, I guess we could call them beings from another realm.
All right. In the past, you've mentioned Mars bases and slave labor systems. Were these on a parallel Earth timeline, or are they in like a time bubble like you're talking about before?
Well, Mars does have its own time bubble, but it's happening within our timeline occurring in the solar system. Um, Time flows a little differently on Mars than it does here, but we're all going around the sun and flowing in the general direction. You can jump to other dimensions and timelines, but from what I know, it was happening in our reality, um, because nothing was mentioned about us jumping to different timelines or dimensions when I was being taken there.
So, do you think that someone like Elon Musk will not be allowed to send a bunch of ships to Mars?
I don't know. I don't know what they have worked out, but it'll be interesting where they decide to land. They'll probably try to keep them away from areas where they're going to run into the corporate groups, or maybe he's working with them in concert. I don't know. I really don't know. But um, if he is allowed to land there, then he's had everything worked out. He's been given permission, and they'll probably have him land in an area to where he'll be out of the way. That's what I would think. But there are also structures around, and I'm sure he's going to want to fly drones around and explore. And what are they going to do when he starts running across these just really destroyed structures that are obviously intelligently made? I don't know. I don't know. I think that different disclosures are going to happen before he's able to get there. And
That
it
makes
could be
sense.
these entities disclosing themselves, since the government's not freaking showing any sign that it's really going to do it.
So it's funny. I did see some like angry tweets from him saying NASA should be trying to build moon bases instead of just talk about visiting again. And I assume that's the same issue there, that he's not going to be allowed to build a moon base.
No, China recently has, in the area they've built it in, we were warned away from. So they've obviously made some sort of a deal. And they're up there supposedly mining, is it helium-3 or hydrogen-3? Helium-3, I think. And they're doing it with drones.
Hmm.
So looks like they're going to be ahead of us on the development of this helium-3 energy source.
I think that was Arthur Neumann's testimony that there was a lot of helium-3 mining going on the moon for like a fusion reactor system.
Hmm. From China?
No, this is just a American
Hmm.
whistleblower from one of the agencies or um, military industrial complex companies.
Hmm. Yeah, I've heard that China's got a pretty big lead over us and have access to areas on the moon that we don't.
Um, all right, I guess this is a question that kind of keeps coming up. Let's see if you have any other thoughts on the relationship between AI uh, influences and the trickster non-human intelligence being. Is it electromagnetic thing? Are they both electromagnetic phenomenon?
Well, I think you kind of touched on it when we were talking about how AI can be influenced on the quantum kind of level.
Yeah,
And that's being done by this trickster entity that they've had a hard time telling the difference between, AI and this trickster. It um, very effortlessly is able to just change things in AI. So that's why it's kind of dangerous for people using AI like a medium or a psychic, or for, deep uh, personal information, that some people are doing. It can be quite dangerous.
have you heard anything about pole shifting?
Yep, that's still part of that whole solar event.
Another question about the 3i Atlas related to is there any quarantine or shield around the solar system? And I think you reported this a long time ago that there
No, I
wasn't.
don't think so.
Do you think
I
these
know
things?
it's monitored. Different beings are monitoring what goes in and out of our system, but whether they react to it is a whole other story.
It's interesting to me that there's so much fascination around these interstellar objects. Like, do you think that there's a lot of things that are seen flying around, and just there's some degree of uh, control over the observatories, and they're actually just not, or they're
No,
cloaking.
there's a lot of control over the observatories. When things come into our solar system, they come in a way to where they're not going to be as observable um, by Earth, um, like telescopes on Earth and that sort of thing. The military secret space programs, they're very careful where, their assets are. They don't want them seen. Um, but yeah, when it comes to a rogue ET group that just decides to blast into our solar system, if it's not trying to hide itself, like if the three-eye atlas is something intelligent, it's obviously wanted us to know about it from the moment it entered our solar system.
Or it's just a coincidence.
Yeah.
Um, so we had a question
Well,
come in.
whether it's antimatter, a normal stone, primordial stone from another star system, as it's coming into our solar system, look at the effect it's having on people. You know, we're having this is major solar storm time. Three-eye atlas is coming in, affecting the static field of the Earth, of the solar system, making solar storms even worse. All of that affects people's consciousness. One scientist put out a thought experiment that it was a alien craft from outside of our solar system, and then it kind of took off from there, and it's become this whole feverish thing that's occurred, even in the mainstream media popping out, and that is affecting our consciousness and waking people up. Uh, just the thought of what if, that short period of time of people having that thought of, well, wait a minute, this is kind of weird. Is it a alien craft? Holy crap, maybe we're not alone in the universe. It's making people go through a process that's affecting their consciousness. So maybe it's a part of the grand clock waking us up in concert with everything else going on. Maybe it's an alien craft. Maybe it's antimatter. Whatever it is, it's having an effect. It's happening at a certain time period where things are occurring on Earth, consciousness wise. It seems like it's a part of the symphony, a part of the overall plan, no matter what the actual object is.
So we had a question come in. It seems to me that most of humanity is not at all prepared for any of this kind of stuff. How is this going to play out?
Good question. I mean, we've had we have multiple entities that over the decades that have been trying to create a new global religion on this planet. We have entities that may start beginning to show themselves in the sky, like giant orbs of light or plasma balls of different colors. How people react to that depends on their own religions or this new religion building or whatever cultural beliefs they have. So there's going to be a lot of reactions. Um, it's going to be a time of chaos, turmoil, people in the streets saying this is the end, people on top of buildings with their hands out and, you know, feeling like this is the second coming or a new spiritual beginning. Depending on your belief system, all these different scenarios are going to be playing out, in my opinion.
Looks like we've worked through most all the questions now, and
Yeah,
I
my
guess
voice is starting to struggle.
I'm always curious to ask if there's anything else very interesting you've been hearing that you received information on.
Mostly, I've just been talking with these guys about the around a dozen families that are interacting with different aspects of whatever this phenomenon is, how different their experiences are, how different they perceive what's happening. They've had, they put cameras, they put all sorts of detectors and all sorts of equipment in these people's houses and on their property. And these people will say, I saw an entity that walked across my yard. They'll look at the cameras and they see a white orb, a white orb. They don't see an entity, so it's very bizarre what's how things are playing out. And the government's been studying this. They know a great deal more than they're pretending to. But the reason we're not hearing what's going on is that the people at the top have completely different ideas. I've explained that in the past. The people that brief me are more of the Collins elite type. Uh, they were the admirals and generals. This is going back decades. They've had different people. It's like a think tank. And these people are of the opinion that what is happening here is mostly not ET, that it is a other dimensional spiritual thing that's very much like, from the Bible. And they're very worried about interacting with this thing, that they're going to trigger it to do, to react somehow in a way that we're not prepared. Um, then you have, the different people that think we're living in some sort of a conscious hologram. And whatever this phenomenon is, it's the programmers, the creators interacting with us in certain ways. Uh, none of these people have the same belief on what it is ultimately that we're dealing with. The people that, like I said, I've been most connected with are the Collins elites, and they're running a lot of these smaller think tanks that are studying the various people that have had interaction with, they just call it the phenomenon. Um, they think that we're dealing with some types of, fallen angels and entities from other realms, for lack of better words and understanding. They're at odds with some of the other groups that are within the intelligence, military intelligence, that are doing really dark shit, dark rituals, and interacting with basically the satanic side of whatever this thing is. They're doing like dark magic, uh, sacrifices, doing sex magic, and all sorts of stuff uh, to interact with this phenomenon, the negative sides. So um, I don't want to have anything to do with those guys. Um, all of these different people seem to be zealots in some way or another. It's really weird, but that's the best I can answer.
Are you, um, well, what are your thoughts on what you could talk about at the Disclosure Summit?
I think, well, because of what I'm so focused on, I think I'm going to talk about more of what I've been hearing about this non-human presence. And I'm not going to be focusing on the ET side as I have a lot in the past. It's going to be this what we're dealing with that's coming from other realms. So um, I think it's really important to educate people. The trickster side of this thing is scary good at what it does. And a lot of people, you know, can be misled. And we just need to know that it exists so that we're forewarned and forearmed.
All right, that's great. Um, so I guess I'll just remind people sign up at thedisclosuresummit.com. That's where we're most excited to get everyone together.
Yes, we want to see you there. Please, we would love to have you on the new series Contacted. So, please come be in the audience, talk with the uh, camera guys if you feel comfortable, and we'll see. You might end up on the series.
Yep. All right. Thanks for your
All
time,
right.
Corey.
All right. Take care, everyone.